Okay, the last thing, the last guy always gets squeezed with time, so I'm gonna try to be very slow and not to keep us away from the barbecue very long. Now this is a little bit special case for me, this Kampanje.com website, and because the thing is that the client decided to move the whole operations to web, meaning we usually develop websites that are supporting businesses of our clients in some way. We create for them another channel to promote their services or to sell products, as you saw, for example, in the shopping cart example, and so on and so on. But these guys, they had for long years, they had a printed magazine in media, PR, advertisement, design area, and it was sold and it was known product, and then they have chosen to take us as a partner and to go digital. And that's basically a big responsibility, because if you fail them, it's not gonna. They had a website. They had the similar thing as they decided to continue with us, but they had their printed product they sold. They had a product, physical product, and then they decided to go with us and to discontinue it. So it was like a little bit of a pressure, at least for me. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to introduce myself very shortly. I've been working with EPiServer for some time. I've been certified for 4 at the time when there was a book to learn from a printed book to pass the exam. Then for 5, then for 6, then for 7. Yeah, I've been involved in EPiServer development, in planning of the project, in time estimations, in support of the project, support queue, stuff, education of new guys who joined. Some of the guys that I kind of hired for X team where I work from are now most valued professionals or aspiring, or they should be if they are not by now. So yeah, I'm not that short in this area of business. Yeah. Now a little bit about the input we got before we started that project. We knew that they already had a scenic website with tens of thousands of articles. They have daily production. They constantly add articles. Every day a number of articles comes up. It's like almost like VG when you look at it. I mean, it's constantly coming up. There is of course urban myth that scenic or before that Polopoly CMSs are the best for the news business model because they were made actually after a electronic newspaper magazine business model when those CMSs were created. They were made to map that workflow. I think that EPiServer won that race. That's my humble opinion. I mean, EPiServer is better than those guys, and our client decided to trust and to move to EPiServer from huge scenic website. Another thing that's important input is that they had their clients, business-to-business clients, meaning design bureaus or marketing bureaus or whatever, and they had their readers, business-to-customer relation. And our client, meaning Kampanje, they wanted to engage them more than they could with previous website. So there was more stuff that we need to enable with the new product. So of course I said they are in design and media PR world, so UX and design had to reflect that. They had always to lead. I mean, if you are thinking about the thing, you have to be the thing. A little bit of a pressure, of course, for Bojan too. And then again, users had to be able to do more stuff with the website than they could with a scenic thing, which was basically read-only website, previous generation of things. And then integrations come to the table. What kind of systems they have and what other things actually they decided to move to the web beside only content production. And this is one of the things. This is something we call evil octopus. As you see in the center, I will shortly be there. In the center, there is CRM, and then EPI solution is one part. I'm going to choose the laser pointer here. Yes, EPI solution is one part of it, And then there was application for events, like a calendar of events they organize, integrations with banks, with payment providers, taking care of printed editions while they still existed. Stuff came on. Somehow it came to be that EPiServer ended up here in the middle. There was huge fight not to allow, that was one of my main trenches, not to allow implementation of CRM-like functionalities in CMS. Because the integration, the CRM wasn't ready for integration, and they constantly tried, okay, but we can just track which client, which registered user is business to business with. So it went on and on, because when you start doing that, you are basically, the important concerns are lost. The roles are, then you cannot do stuff anymore correctly. That's my experience. So we try to keep it out, but yeah, it succeeded in some way. I'll tell you where it ended. These are some of the systems that form the ecosystem of that company today. Most of the things we are integrated with in a way that we send data back and forth, or we are tightly integrated, or we are just using them as a repository of stuff. This thing listed here is something but not told, and it's not the end. New things come to the table. This octopus that I showed you on the drawing is a 2 years old. It has grown by now. But basically, our task was to do a little bit of a magic. You know, when the magicians do the magic, they take a piece of paper and then they make something else of it. So this we had to make of that octopus. This is one of the section pages on that website. It has loads of different stuff coming from different sources. We'll come back to this as well. I'll try to be fast. Yes. One of the things it proved to be is that when designers came in, designers were very inspired to enforce a little bit of a specification. You know, they wanted to describe the requirements in their own way when they do design, and they pretty insisted on that. So we ended up in more than one logical site in there. More than one logical site ended up to be in more than one visual site, which resulted in multiplication of page types because of view and different properties, different grids, loads of CSS done for one part of the site and other part of the site, different navigation logic, different look and feel, and different way to use EPiServer edit mode. I'm just going to show you a couple of important sub-sites in there. They are not sub-sites, it's all one EPiServer tree, and that's all one license. So we have a magazine. This is basically like what would you see on VG. It's article flow, it splits into sections like we would have sports or something else. It has different article types, one for video articles, the regular articles, commentary articles that feature the person actually who wrote the comment, and so on and so on. They are content rich, and it's important, this part is important to be very well organized because it's a place where they sell paid services. Now, making it cool enforced another thing, and that is to have complex content area, which means that you just cannot leave them with a rich text area and then they type text and add the images on their own. There was some design of cool stuff which led to that they have to compose content of one article by dropping blocks on that. There was approach to use rich text area and then to do dynamic content stuff, but then it's hard to track where that content is to reuse it somewhere else. It has its own drawbacks, so this is the thing that causes, but you know, number of blocks multiplied over time. Then another subset. It's premium. This is actually where they generate the income. This thing you cannot read until you pay. As you notice, it's even content richer, it's bigger images. Here we were actually prevented to resize images because it's premium. So when you open it like on a big screen on a Mac with good resolution, it has to be like premium content, big image, high quality image, and so on and so on. So the load is rising. It has different navigation logic. It's completely then the magazine. It has different content organization when the clients use it in the EPiServer 3. Different page types, then different container types that enforce the how you organize which pages are parents to which, and so on and so on. Then you get to premium article is like atom unit of earning money on this website, and that's actually the place where you meet the paywall. Then the thing there is that it needs to be tracked. We usually track it with Google Analytics. Then we CSense also has their own stuff. They want to track when client comes in, register, pays, and so on and so on. Then another thing here is that design was made in a way that different parts of content, as you scroll, parallax over each other, which forces us that some stuff, just that parallaxing, some stuff that would be basically easy to create within a rich text area, you have two pieces of text that they wanted to parallax over each other. You have to create two blocks. You have to have divs spreading all over so they can parallax, and it has its own. So where that led to even more blocks. Yeah, just in order to, and there we have, because it's premium, it has composite blocks, blocks within blocks. I'll get back to that. Some challenges in there that we had to solve and approach, maybe at least the 3 approaches. Another different thing, I mean, this is different grid, this is different website. When you look at it in a terms as Bojan presented in previous presentation. Yeah. Then bureau guide. Of course, this is where their business-to-business client live. Yeah, they earn money here as well. This is basically a place where bureaus has their own accounts, the page about the bureau, and then every bureau can post like, we made this, we did this for Freya, we did this for Telenor, we did this, so on and so on. Then they post their awards, then they post, yeah, and it goes on, goes on. This is different grid. This thing here, even though if it looks like this, which we have with news, I mean, it's possible to show on the screen, so I have to do this. So you have some boxes, they are squares, but they are cross-cut with content coming from different sources. See, they get cross-cut. This thing isn't cross-cut, so we were able here, for example, to do automatic loading. This thing is manually maintained by the editors. I'll talk a little bit about that later. It's fun. Yeah. So again, this thing has a bunch of different, similar but different CSS. It has another similar but different way to navigate, and blah, blah, blah. It is 100% maintained by their clients, meaning the editors don't do this. Which means that we had to enable people outside of the organization to actually create and maintain EPiServer content. And then we create external MVC application with a layer of web API that exposes EPiServer functionalities. And then we had a lot of lessons to learn in there. My first impulse, of course, previous experience was, we don't want to do it. It's not good. For some reasons it had to be done. I'll get back to that. This is what people can do in the application. They add their stuff, and so on and so on. And then we have another part of the site. This is not two different jobs, but it has different website because different page types because of this and that. This didn't add too much work. Then we have personal profile. This is for me, who am not a bureau, but I still want to have, it's like LinkedIn. I get there, I edit my part of Kampanje.com, and then I'm there in community, and so on and so on and so forth. Then of course they deal with content. SEO is very important for them. Archiving of articles is also very important because they produce loads of litter over the year, and then it needs to be moved out of the way so they can work. Using EPiServer's out-of-the-box features where you name the folder and then find automatic change job that will do that will not work here because they want articles that were below PR section to to end up in a archiving folder that has PR again in URL for SEO, and that has PR and a year and a month and then name of the article. So that kind of stuff was very important for them. And then to 301, from moved page, you know, when you move page in EPiServer, you get new routing, you get new URL basically, and then we had to deal with that too. And to deal with that, we covered that part of work by using a commercial add-on by our previous company where we worked. I wouldn't advertise that one if I didn't work on that product before I came here. It's basically a good product. It's a topic for another session maybe, but it deals with that kind of stuff. If you have a folder with 1,000 articles and you move it, it's going to track 301s of all 1,000 articles. Of course, you can solve it with a custom routing in EPiServer and stuff. You know, there are cool stuff that developers like to do, but there are developers that already did it and debugged it. So you have to do it. Don't have to do it. It's not very expensive. I don't know. Herman dealt with it.
Wasn't too bad.
No, wasn't too bad. Okay. Yeah. So most important thing here for us, there was nothing like there was not a space shuttle to make. Change management proved to be a big challenge here. We were design bound. Designer comes in and they talk the same language with the media production house. They are closer in communication than with IT guys. So they somehow got together, and then we ended up with requirements that weren't very easy to explain why they took time. Short example. Requirement comes that this page has to be completely maintained by an editor. So they want to know when this article is here, when they add another one, it pushes this one to be small and this one to be small, and that it goes on. So I make it. You know, the stuff you do in EPiServer, like custom content area rendering, and you output the stuff as you want from the content area maintaining. So this means that this is a block, this is a block, this is a block. This is actually dropped article. Then whole this thing is a block where you drop articles. Then whole this thing is a block. So you have a bunch of blocks in content area. They can move them around. You output custom rendering of content area. It works. And then they say, it's too complex, you know, because we usually don't do much. This is coming automatically from BureauGuide, the other side. This is coming automatically from events application. I'm gonna get there. Then we don't want, this is coming automatically, this carousel from jobs, they are stealing. So we don't want to deal with that. We just want to deal with articles on daily basis, but articles need to follow. When I drop new article here, it should push, then jump over, then push these guys, then jump over. And then what we do is take, okay, goodbye rendering of content area of area. These are all blocks. We fix these things. They have their own mind. And then these things is fixed. And then what we do is maintain the articles within one content area in edit mode. And then we are going to count. 4 loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We count like that. And then say, well, you know what? We would like this article not to be an article, we would like it to be a zone of here. So your counting is gone. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. And it goes and it goes. And they say, okay, listen, this is going to be always here. This thing is always going to be here. This thing is always going to be here. This is, so when you make this, so we maintain the articles, they should automatically jump over, no problem. Guess why I have these lines drawn here? They are new. Now we are moving fixed things around. So change management was very important. You know, people come from printing business. They are used to, we have to understand them. As Bojan said in his presentation, we are here to advise them, not to tell them and take decisions for them. I don't want to tell them this is fixed, you don't move this now. But they are used to see the thing when it comes under the press machine, and then to draw on this, and then people move a little bit boxes, and it's printed again, and it's good. It's hard to get them to understand how much coding does it take to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So change management, very important, which brought us to the angle that we had to start coding for the change. So when we code a feature, we code as it's going to be changed very soon, which is more time than you just do handout coding. Takes more time, but less time than you get these new lines and then you come back home. Yeah, crazy. Okay. Then another thing that we had is that somehow EPiServer ended in the middle of that octopus. Meaning that whenever some part doesn't work, or glitches, or is slow, the website! That's the thing they see. The whole, how say that, bureau, their editors, they constantly have open edit mode. During work hours, they're constantly working in EPiServer. So guess where they're going to notice that, I don't know, events application is glitching on the module within the site. So they say, you know, since we switched to EPiServer, we have problems with events. Now events. Events is done by they having some kind of CMS, I never saw it, but they use it to enter their events. And it's exposing, that's initial info we get. It's exposing JSON, yes, as API. This is the thing that we need to make within this long paper. Only this part. 3 upcoming events. That's what we need to show. We don't need to maintain them, nothing. We don't do nothing but show 3. Of course, same JSON feed is used by events website, not made by us, not developed by us, not maintained by us. And iPhone app. You know how it's made? It serves everything in CMS. That's one API call you get. 63 events, for example. You get huge JSON, no paging, no filtering, nothing. You get 63 events, full info for the whole website here, for example, or for whole app. For me, just to show these 3. So now I'm going to show you how did we deal with that. That's one big request. So what we do basically, I'm a big fan because you saw that I'm not that new. I'm a big fan of DTOs, and I don't restrain myself from saying. So it's cool to use dynamic objects because you just output some properties and you kick it to JSON and it works. But we have data binding to different subviews, the partial views, and all over the site in different ways they look. And I always like to have the same data coming over there. So when I cache stuff, I don't like to cache dynamic objects because you have when you pull the stuff from that list, you need to when you use link, you need to do discovery of properties, which properties exist. That also takes a little bit time, but it takes time. So yeah, I like to go with like typed data transfer objects, and then when I cache them, I know what I pull out, and immediately name the property, and so on and so on. It has its own. It goes back and forth, of course. So what we do here is we pull the JSON, and then we go through event items, and we cast them to DTOs, and then we sort them, take 3 to list, and cache them for 4 hours. Because what they do is they don't add events every day. So it can be cached at least for 4 hours. That's the only way we could find not to have clients pulling huge JSON every now and then. Yeah. It's a workaround, it's nothing fancy. But it's what you have to do when you get it. Back to complex blocks. Now when you have to show data, for example, easiest way to show is like a chart bar. You have a number of repeated values. It's usually made like block containing blocks. Every time you have content area and you drop a block, having a color, a value, I don't know, and a label, for example. That's a way to do. Or what we had to do here, because this is already block of blocks. This whole thing here is one block, pie chart container block. It consists of 2 pie chart blocks, which have this cool image and a text. So this is one block, and this is one content area within pie chart block. Now, further deeper in, this thing here had they couldn't just put an image there. Designer had to have it animated. When you scroll down the page and you come to that position in the page, it animates around to show. So of course we use the JavaScript plugin. In order to have JavaScript plugin, you have to feed it with data. And voila, you have to maintain the data in there. Instead of use the the Excel and have the pie chart and do a print screen and cut the image and put it in a page, you constantly serve data to yourself. So what we did here, if we use that approach, having blocks within the blocks to maintain a little bit complex data structure, it's hard for them to understand where they are. Here they would have to enter first within the first block to have this first part, then to enter within this thing, to add blocks here, and then they don't know where they are. It's not graphical anymore. You know how in EPiServer you get into a block, into a block, into a block, and you just have forms. You're out of representation of what you do. So instead of that, this is what we did. We say, okay, we are gonna save you by having a contract how you enter the data. 3 values, comma separated. If you have 2 commas, that means that you have 3 values. And this is where validations help very much. So we check, are there 2 commas, 3 comma separated values, and we don't allow them to save data if they do anything wrong here. And of course, when they do mouse over the label, they get instruction. You have to enter, because they really quickly forget. Of course, they didn't make it. They don't understand that there is API in there called by a JavaScript plugin to load those values in order to draw a circle. Happy or not? We'll see.
Yeah, there is just wanted to mention, when we sort of trying to figure this one out, we also thought about how about we create like a rich HTML region, like, or editor, and then you create a table, and then inside of that table the editors could add the data in different columns, and then you parse through that table with JavaScript, extract the values and stuff like that, and then put it, because it will be easier for the editors. But then you cannot have any validation. It's like all over the place. If somebody messed up the columns with the tables, so this is in the end, this is what we.
This is another completely different. I just wanted to give you the challenge we faced in the project. I'm not going to get into that, because that's a topic actually for how much of Dojo we should code to create feature-rich editors. Because EPiServer offers only basic editors for the properties. And recently there was I'm going to skip that. Comments. This is a cool feature. Lightweight. We implemented comment functionalities on different projects in many different ways. This is one of the cool things that we did. So I'm going to show you. What we have here is basically comments below the article. Where's my laser? Yes. Comments below the article, and then. One of the requests was to implement at tagging with the autocomplete of the users that maintain their own profiles. If you remember what I showed, how do I maintain my own profile? And now I'm gonna just run short click through, so you see how that works. Is it going? No. What do I do to start?
You need to kill the laser.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Escape. Yes. This is a nice example. So now I'm going to get into one article. There is small cloud showing that there are already 23, if I see good, 23 comments below. Go down there, 23, yes. I want to see what people wrote, so I don't write somebody, standard trolling stuff on other people's websites. Then, I want to post a comment. Of course, I have to be logged in. We use the phone numbers. One of the reasons why we implemented the custom commenting feature instead of just hooking Discuss or Facebook is that we wanted complete control of events, so we can notify everything in EPiServer. I'm going to tag Bojan. Maybe Dakvin, because I kind of suppose that he's going to here. Wanna be gone? Maybe he's around here, maybe not. And post a comment. What we'll see, it automatically turned into links, which are linked to their profiles within Kampanje website. Again, we have full control over that. We can link you to your LinkedIn profile if you entered it in your profile page, and so on and so on. Okay, how does it look like in for EPiServer users? Every comment is a, I want laser, that's so modern. Yes, every comment is a page. So comment is a page type. It might be an overkill. What we solved with that, before we did it like using DDS, and then we just write in DDS, and then we scaffold a little bit of MVC application where you can maintain the comments, list, search, and so on, similarly to what Mark showed with product. But our clients here invested some effort to learn user interface of EPiServer, so they already know it. The best way to use it is to give them the opportunity to use it as EPiServer object. So that's what we did. All these comments here are children of an article. Go together with it to the archive and other stuff. They can edit each one of them. They can see who sent an email. Then, using all EPiServer event, we can hook to. We can filter profanity. We can do all kind of stuff. How do I have the autocomplete list of people to tag? That's another thing done in EPiServer. There is one scheduled job that goes during the night through the list of all users, through their profiles, and generates the list in form of JSON data. Now a little bit of about, just shortly into the code, how is that used. Again, because we didn't know is it gonna last this implementation or they are gonna decide to go for another comments repository. It's implemented as a, of course, interface which is injected, and then we can inject either test mocking class, or we can inject later another repository for discuss comments or for whatever. This interface implements basic set of features which are compliant with any other commenting functionality we could imagine at the time. So this is coding for the change from our side. And then at the end what we do is we get that JSON file generated by that export job. We add it to a global variable because it's not too big, it can hang in memory. And then what we do is basically every time we do typing, autocomplete calls in and says return me filter data. So you get a list of people you can choose to tag. Okay, back to Bureau Editor. Critical place where people outside of the organization edit EPiServer content. On commercial application, heavily visited. Lessons we learned here is that recreating EPiServer functionalities outside of EPiServer is risky idea. Again, because there are people who already debugged EPiServer edit mode a lot of times. And then you create editing forms and editing functionality, and then you have people from, I don't know, 70 organization. One guy is delegated to maintain their bureau page and to put articles, and he reports bug, not to me, to my client. And then my client pushes the bug to us, which has high probability of yes, not getting proper bug report. And then when you try to recreate and you try to ask that guy to test on his machine and his version of operating system in his browser, it's hard to get to him to do that. So it's, yeah, that thing is hard to do. Then the more your client learns, direct client learns about Epi, the more stuff from Epi they are going to ask you to have in your customly made functionality to edit EPiServer stuff. Latest thing we got in latest order to develop more this include, guess what? Versioning of pages, delayed publishing, Not hard to do, but still, yeah. Image editor. So here, I mean, basically, I'll run short video, you'll see. It basically implements stuff like Facebook, like, how said it, header image, then profile photo, like, it has everything but better than Facebook. Then, blocks. Then they want to drag and drop blocks in our custom MVC application. Then they want to browse window to pop up so they can navigate EPiServer 3 to find a page in order to have a link to page. Basically here you are outside of EPiServer routing when you are in this application, so it's not easy. Yeah. Good thing about having this is, what would be the other alternative? To heavily administer EPiServer 3, to allow different users to work, to do stuff only on part of EPiServer 3, and then they see loads of stuff, but they cannot use it. It's very hard. You would have 70 people, 70 organization trying to click through your EPiServer 3. That's not a good idea. So this was like the best thing you can do, and you'll see how it works. See how fast I do escape for the laser, and I do this. Okay, so what I have to do here in order to get into the bureau editor, that external application, I have to log in as a bureau. So it's a little bit hidden login, not used by all users. Their login is out there. So I log in, and voila, the bureau page as it is on public web now has the buttons to edit pieces of the page. Down there I'm gonna go and I'm gonna award Krog Optic with diploma. So this is, I'm gonna imagine one award, that Marco won. Yes, it was this month. Yes. I choose the article I already have about Krog Optic, and I say publish. And it's gone to automatically to public site. Because of that, I'm going to remove it. Yeah. So it's gone. Yes. So adding content for users who are not in EPiServer edit mode is pretty easy. This is some other things that you can deal with here. You can change your company's information. As you notice here, you have rich text areas, not blocks, because we choose to deal with blocks within EPiServer edit mode. Then, of course, you can deal with header image, you can deal with the logo of the company, just upload and replace it there. There is some validation of the size implemented, but not editor. I mean, to edit the image there. There are some quick menu buttons for most used things. You can add new article, type stuff in there, do whatever you need. And then when you go to Bureau Guide, this is where your stuff shows in public web. I'm going to just show you how Bureau page looks like, because that was the last thing that we edited. Go. So this is now the page in view mode. On public web, how does it look like after you finished editing? As you noticed, I didn't have a possibility to edit people. That's done by people. They actually add where they work on their profiles. So it's automatically, I can choose to be connected to a company or not. Company doesn't for me. Yes, okay. I am on the slide 30 of 37, so I'm gonna go very fast. So just so you know, so you don't get impatient. I think Eric already left to start the fire. Yes, Twitter feed. That's super easy to embed in your website, right? Oh yeah. When you have the designer that says, okay, there is no way you can use a Twitter's widget to put on your site and style it, skin it a little bit, and then you would have, of course, the asynchronous request. Your page loads, when the Twitter stuff is going to come, you don't care, everybody knows how that works. No, it has to look exactly like this, and it has to have three latest tweets about Kampanje. Now the new challenge comes. How do you define which tweets are about Kampanje? It's not stuff from their timeline. It's the stuff from their timeline combined with a number of hashtags they want to maintain in EPiServer. So here I think when I did this screenshot it was 12 or 13. I cannot count, but so I have 13 hashtags that I need to pull and a timeline to combine them, order by date, and get latest three. But that's loads of commotion in if you want to follow normal things like normal people do with Twitter, it should be in front-end code. It should be in JavaScript. You pull JSON and you just output the data in HTML. With this, no. I mean, you would have a huge JavaScript logic coded in the middle of the page, and then it's harder to debug and blah 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 blah. So what we did. Again, we had to code for the change. It's the implementation of the interface. It's fully injected. The interface implements two things. It implements get hashtag search result. It implements get timeline search result. Basically, because of the thing that we try to investigate. Is there a combination in the API where you can pass at, like to ask for timeline, and a couple of hashtags? And the results are completely weird when you do it. When you use the widget, it somehow automatically gets newest data. But when you use the API, at least at the time when the investigation was done, if I call for ABC timeline and review what's returned, and then XYZ hashtag and 123 hashtag, when I look all those three and call them together, I miss some stuff. For some reason, when the operators are implemented, some tweets are missing. So what we decided is to pull everything basically separately. When you format hashtags, that's also what the investigation came back with, is that when you combine hashtags, the info is pretty good. It's pretty similar to what you get when you call, but hashtags and timeline doesn't run together. So that's why we separated hashtag and timeline. I mean, we are still on 3 tweets. Explain that to the client. Explain what are you coding there? What you doing? What you charging? What's on the invoice? Yes. So okay. So then we get there and say, okay, I'm going to get hashtags from EPiServer and I'm going to format with OR and have my query for hashtags, and then I'm going to call the timeline, going to get 3 of those, and then I'm going to call hashtag, again going to get 3 of those. So if either of them doesn't return anything, I have at least 3. Basically I will end up with 6, and then I'm going to reverse order and I'm going to take 3, and guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cache that. Because those requests, looping and doing requests, even from code behind is, what we did, why we did push so many things in code behind, like those simple things that should be, because we optimized the page heavily. Picture fill plugin. We did a, basically in-house image resizer in order to do stuff. I'll touch that slowly. So, and we ended up with pretty much optimized, not small page. And then integrations come. And then requests are shooting all over the place. And requests need time. So then we pull the requests back. Whatever doesn't have to be so fresh, we pull them back in code behind, cache. So what are we serving today? This very small invisible thing is a list of page types and block types. Since I did this screenshot, I think it grew a little bit. I mean, I'm not a newbie to create I mean, I kid myself that I'm not, but to create page type every time there is different color on the page. But this is absolutely necessary. All those different, that's why I showed you different subtypes. They dictate different page types, and it's a forest. Then we had to do heavily, how do I say that, consistency check, where which page can be created, below which pages, in which part of the tree. Validation errors, say you shouldn't use it, you shouldn't drop this. We are very grateful for EPiServer finally implementing when you tag the property with allowed pages that you cannot drop. Before it was you drop them but it won't save. Now you cannot drop not allowed blocks or pages in content area. That's super good. This thing here says that we have 160,000 pages in database. This is not quite correctly. This is still remains from the time when I was young. This admin mode didn't evolve with EPiServer. I'm sorry that nobody from EPiServer is not here. This is actually pages and blocks and media types together. Because I don't really know if you remember when EPiServer moved from 5 to 6 and they introduced content, iContent instead of page data as stuff. They didn't, since then they didn't change this. So this thing here, can I zoom this? Yes. So if you take count from table content, you get a number of data, and then if you filter by content type 0, you actually get less. This is a number of pages. If you want to check the stuff you have in database, this is what you have to be careful about. It's not everything in these statistics. It's not correct. Then more things. I am on the slide 32. Progressing. This is app data, basically images. Remember that videos are on Vimeo, on Video 23 on YouTube. There is 13.7 gigabyte of images, or 900,000 of images in there. Images that we resized, there is 12,000. Now we come to the situation where we have basically 500 megabytes, almost 500 megabytes of resized images for these small boxes, you know. So there is loads of images there. Why do we write custom image resizer? The images are so big. I mean, the site is so content media rich that it's basically suicide to resize on the fly. The imageresizer.net was commercial version is billable, but it's not that much. The thing is that I remember times when we had problems to basically upgrade EPiServer version because using image vault at the time, and we had some kind of time pressure. So I said, okay, I cannot vouch for third-party implementation. Is it going to follow new versions of EPiServer and so on and so on? And then again, we didn't know. We had to code for change, meaning I don't know if we are going to end up load balance, and how image.net deals with that, imageresizer.net, and then when we are going to end up in Azure, and so on and so on. So what we did, and then another thing is that when you resize on upload, basically every image you upload, you get 3 or 4. We will get like 4 versions of image right away. Now if I come back here, 68,000 times 4 for nothing. If you look at the exact values, like this is real values, they don't need those. All the images don't show up in all versions. So resizing automatically on upload is also not for this site. Any other, no problem. So what we did is that on request by picture fill plugin, we check on file system, do we have resized image? If not, there is C# code that deals with bitmap, decreases the size, we store it there, it's ready for backing up, restoring, this and that. And again, we had a problem with picture fill plugin. It didn't decrease the page. That's where I'm going to call Bojan to explain why.
Yeah, just quickly, you probably noticed the code. Yeah, thank you. the whole site is actually responsive. So we wanted, of course, to use the same library I showed before and sort of increase the performance. But here we couldn't actually gain anything with performance because one of the requests was all these images needs to be served. If the screen depth is bigger, then you need to serve bigger image. So basically here we use the same plugin, but not for benefit of faster and smaller bandwidth, but we actually serve bigger images in smaller containers, and thus actually supporting screen depth. Usually, how it's done is you do that on article page itself, not on the whole list. But they sort of insisted they wanted like this. So it just shows you that it's up to client in the end. If they want some feature, they are going to push it. If they think that is for the benefit of their job. So like same everything, if you remember there, in the Milos we had a small screen was like 600 kilobytes, big screen was 1.8 megabytes. Here we have a small screen 2 megabytes, big screen 2.3 maybe. So, you know, it's not really, is it worth it? Maybe not, it's up to them.
What happens when I look at the page is that I have a big page and it loads, it's 5 megabytes. I resize it, but if it's retina screen, it's like small images, it's again 5 megabytes. So what did I do? Yeah. Now, after all these things, I mean, we have a lot of ongoing processes still working, loads of work on CRM integration and stuff. Everything that moves in the page is now writes back and forth to CRM and so on and so on. So yeah, after all these things, are they happy? They look happy to me because they won Media Innovator Award 7 days ago. Based on the stuff they implemented, they moved everything on web in media world, and they won the award. I think they are happy. Yes. Hope you are happy. If you have any questions, or I will thank you for listening. Yes, please.
Do you have nightmares?
There's my wife in the last row. Do I have nightmares? If I talk in my sleep? One more request is again on the page. Yeah, we worked a lot of decreasing requests, that I can tell you. No, I don't have nightmares, but it was a little bit hard to get around some things. As you saw, challenges were not related to implementation of EPiServer. That's the main thing. That's basically main conclusion of this. Use EPiServer. It won't fail on you. It will work. It will do all the stuff. Will take off the table, and then you can deal with.
You think you learned a lot about EPiServer through this project?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. This, as I said at the beginning, it's the first time where client basically relies completely. There's lots of people that get salaries in the company hanging now completely on EPiServer. Okay? Barbecue time. Thank you very much.